Hello and welcome. If anyone out there is listening, sorry it's a little bit late. This is Joel and I'm here with Ryan. This is, of course, UFC after or UFC UCF. I always want to do that. Uncharted Case Files after
There
chat
you go.
for January 24th. Of course, let me turn it over now to Ryan and get everything started.
Hi guys, I'm still alive. My internet had just disappeared, and as per usual, I don't know how that happened, but I'm still here. They didn't get me.
It always actually does give you a little bit of a a little bit of a weird feeling because I know I used to get this a lot with Michael because I've told you before we used to deal a lot in we used to talk a lot about conspiracies. Conspiracies were always, especially with as the government starts to release more files, making stuff unclassified, things like that. We get into these talks about conspiracies, and it was a big joke with us. We would always talk to the NSA guy listening to us at the same time. Like if you want to
Right.
chime in, you can. And we'd say good morning to him and all of this stuff and then if we got anything really serious, really kind of deep diving in there, we get disconnected every time.
Yeah, no, that's what I just kind of got a feeling, right? Like someone's watching, and then like, okay, pull the plug, and I can just imagine um, what it feels like on the receiving end. Those are watching, right? And all of a sudden, boom, he's gone, right? Boom. And because my wife there, she was trying to get my attention to tell me I was disconnected. I was still talking for a good 15 minutes, man, and I had no idea I was disconnected. And but everything on my end said I was live. So but if I hit refresh, it actually showed that I wasn't. And yeah. So, anyways, here we are. So hopefully, I'm just trying to log into the chat because I wasn't a part of it last time.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should just be able to follow the same link, which, if I'm not mistaken, you can actually go to www.spreaker, Spreaker, sorry about that, .com/UCF with Ryan Stacy, and it should bring you to the page where the current episode will be playing, and there's a chat box and comments and everything underneath it where you could also like and follow Ryan on Spreaker. Of course, you can also download this if you miss anything, you want to hear it again, or anything like that. You can also download it on Google Play, iTunes, Podcast Addict, Stitcher Podcast, uh, everywhere but iHeartRadio. And iHeartRadio is actually coming. I've already got it submitted and everything. Um, we're also on a network, and I'm not exactly sure how this works, but it works through Amazon Alexa. It's called TuneIn, and so we are actually available through there.
All right.
And
No.
Michael has an Amazon, and he doesn't know exactly. He's tried to get it on there, and it hasn't worked great. But
Good evening, Michael. There we go. I can see it. I don't have to sign in. I just have to see the comments.
oh
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah, it'll just pop up on there. And hi, other Michael. Well, I'll have to call you other Michael because my normal co-host is Michael Smith, and so you're the other Michael to me. So, well, actually, since you were talking about how the internet dropped out and things like that, this really hasn't got anything like us. I will be actually, I'll put this up front. We're starting late because of me. I had a power outage here where I live for quite some time. They were running wiring and something I don't know, but anyway, it ended up going off in places they didn't think it was going off of, and it got on not that long ago, which of course threw dinner behind and everything else. I'm on the West Coast, by the way, so that's why everything's everything's a little earlier to me. It's I think it's like what about now? It's 9:30 there. It's 6:30 here.
Yeah, it's bedtime. It's bedtime
Yeah,
here. But
but we about I think this was probably 2 years ago. No, actually, I think this was last year. Sorry, I was thinking about that, and no, I believe it was actually last year, last winter, early in 2008, 2018. We had a very weird event. We had a complete blackout for I'd say somewhere around the maybe 15 minutes. I mean, it was just About the time you say, okay, well, we're out of power tonight, so maybe I'll just go on and lay down or something like that. It popped back on. I'm thinking, okay, so nothing else came on with it though. And when I say nothing else, I literally mean nothing else. There was no radio stations, no TV stations, no cell phone reception, no internet, and the one it still to this day confuses me, no landline service. I can understand, like, of course, if the cable's out, the internet's not going to work. I think probably just about everybody has that kind of thing going through it, where your cable and your internet, and a lot of people have the home phone together with that. And I do actually want to point that out. We didn't. Ours was through the old lines still, like it you plugged into the wall, not into the. It had nothing to do with the internet. We did not have an internet phone at the time. We did later, but we didn't at that time. It was an actual landline. And it's like I said, for everything to be knocked out at once. TV, radio, internet, cell phone, and landline. And this was not only in my area, this was pretty much the entire province of British Columbia.
So why do you think that happened?
Well, honestly, if I'm the only thing I would know of that would cause something along that line would be a EMF pulse or an EMP pulse, rather.
Okay. And so we, how electromagnetic fields work, so that would have to be activated. So I'm just going with it. We're just troubleshooting it, right? The possibility, we know the technology exists, right? Question is why? Why would something like that go off? What was going on?
That's the thing. At the time, and this gets into a little bit of the conspiracy realm, or a lot of it in the conspiracy realm actually, because of course, the British Columbia is a pretty good size area, and for the whole area to be blacked out almost, and we're talking like I'm in the extreme northwest part of it, all the way down into Vancouver, they were having problems too, all through Kamloops. These are, highly populated, urban areas. These are not rural, like, where I live, where it's like 10,000 people total. There were a lot of people asking, what happened? How'd this go on? And basically the only thing we got, because this was on all servers, this was TELUS, Bell, Rogers, everyone. Everyone was knocked out. Basically, what we were told is it was a perfect storm of individual events.
So, like, what were those events, though? Like, there had to have been an explanation. There's been something that large, right?
Yeah. One we were told was an avalanche that hit a cell phone tower that knocked out the relay. Another one was told there was an automobile wreck that hit a telephone pole and knocked it into some other type of relay that caused a fire that knocked out the internet. And I don't think they ever addressed why the television signals were out.
I mean, that's been confirmed? Like, who's the source? Is this from the news? Or?
Yes, this was on Global BC. They talked about an avalanche. I remember the avalanche, and because I thought this is weird. A car hits a telephone pole, knocks it into this relay station, and causes a fire in this relay station, and that's what knocks out the internet and the what do they call them? VoP phones, the online telephones. And a avalanche takes out a cell phone tower that knocks out the cell networks for all brands in British Columbia in all areas.
Well, I don't know. It could be anything, really. I would check the date and maybe see if anything was reported in the sky around the same time, too. You guys seen Project Blue Book from the episode last night? It kind of sounded, something like that. Or not last night, Tuesday. Right? Big old craft come by and burns everything out. Right?
A lot of people were talking about a possible where there was some, not a lot of people, but there was some rumbling, and like I said, into the conspiracy realm. A lot of people talking about HARP doing testing a guided EMF or EM pump pulse, electromagnetic pulse, an EMP,
Hmm.
and for
So
some reason they were saying HARP was actually active, and of course we're near Alaska up here. I'm actually closer to
right.
Alaska than anywhere else, at least any
So
kind of size.
the thing with conspiracies is that like as soon as it's possible, right? As soon as one of those ideas is possible, then the rest is just fear. Fear, like it's just basically what people are afraid of. Right? The same technology that can do something great can also do something bad if it's in the wrong hands. Is it possible for humans who are good to turn bad at some point? Of course, right? So you can get a conspiracy with anything. The way I would like to see the thing is that you can't really confirm it because you can't really trust the source because the media puts spins on it. It came from Global, and Global's a news reporting agency, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, they put spins on it for ratings. Like you can't really trust it. So that's why I ask questions like if you confirm it, take the story and run with it and confirm it, fact check it, right? But
yeah,
it's really hard to excuse me, it's really hard to fact check stuff that has happened in the past. That's why kind of like the approach I'm taking is I want to know what's happening right now, so I can fact check within like 7 days if possible, right?
yeah. I mean, that was
It's interesting.
it was very interesting. It's like I said, for I wouldn't have thought much of it like knocking because, like I said, if we had I would say, okay, well, whatever, wherever our source of internet is or cable is, it hasn't gotten the stuff worked out for it. It was the fact that my wife was actually in town at her daughter's and was trying to call after the power came back on. Was trying to call me to see if we still had power because I live in Kitimat Village and she was in Kitimat Town. It's only like a 10-minute drive from here. But she was calling to see if we had power and wasn't able to get through. So she thought the power was out. She comes in, the power, of course, is going. But we had, like I said, we had the old style telephones. We were actually using the landlines instead of the VOP phones. And that's where it was like really kind of shook me because I've seen things that have knocked out, like if it just knocked out the telephones and internet from the internet phones, then they would have been like, okay, they, like I said, whatever relay works would tell us because that's what we were through. It didn't get worked out when the power came back on, so that's fine. In the same sense, it took her probably another. She didn't realize at that time actually that her cell phone actually wasn't dialing out because it would start to go and then it would like go to almost to a busy signal or something. She thought it was on our end and we didn't have power. It wasn't until the next, or I think it was even before that, maybe 5 or 6 hours that she realized she couldn't send any text messages. She couldn't receive any text messages because she ran into her aunt and was like, "Hey, I've been trying to call you and sent you a message, see if everything was okay." She's like, "I didn't get anything." That's when and it said she was actually connected to the network. And like I said, it was just a weird, weird event. And it's something like I said, I saw something earlier about talking about a controlled EMP that would maybe knock out the communications for one area or what they call a nationwide, where let's say because this was again another conspiracy thought was maybe this was a test run before some type of attack.
No, how do they? Are we attacking ourselves or are we attacking something else?
That's what that was the first thing I said with it is are we well who's attacking who here then because
Because
you
like in
figure
order to create any counter to any device, you have to have the technology to counter it in order to know that it's successful. So they're going to test out an EMF. That's something, or EMP, pardon me. That's something that we can measure here because it's technology that we use. So either they're prepping to attack us, like biological or like warfare for our own wars, or they use the same technology. And then that ties into the conspiracy of the reverse engineering. What came first, chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
So what I would focus on is the fact that it's possible. If it's possible, that means it can happen. Who's going to do it? That doesn't matter. Why they're going to do it? That doesn't matter. When are they going to do it? That doesn't matter. What matters is, what are we going to do when it happens? That's how we need to think. So you got to imagine a world when, if that type of weapon is used, no matter on what side of the fence deploys it, we rely on a lot of technology, right? We're speaking a half hour late tonight because the internet went out.
Yeah.
It's a huge inconvenience for a half an hour difference. So you imagine the entire world without it. Like, well, look at the lockout or the government shutdown there in the States. One day might not have been a big deal, but now it's 34 days and counting, and now everything's being affected.
Yeah. Now everything. Yeah, and you got
no one's prepared.
Being it.
Right?
Yeah, they were not. No one was ready for anything this long. And I mean, it's only going to get worse from there with the TSA agents finally saying they've had enough. They're not going to show up and work without pay. And I mean, they had actually a thing here a while back. The air traffic controllers here in Canada were buying pizza for the lunch of the air traffic controllers in the U.S. because they know the money has ran out. I mean, you got a nest egg, but how long is that going to last?
we got to protect our border too.
Yeah.
Right. So so we're part of that. But the thing is you got to ask the reason for it, the end game. Right. There are other. This is a game of chess. There are a lot of things that can happen if this continues to go out longer. And the question is it deliberate? Is that what they want? We don't know that yet. This being the record, the record strikeout in history, that's a milestone for Trump in his persona, right? Maybe he was just trying to achieve a record, so he goes into history. It's an unfortunate way of doing it, but maybe that was his motive. I don't want to speak ill on anyone, but I mean, if you look at the history of presidents, we had some good presidents, JFK and Abe Lincoln, and they were terminated for doing less, right? Yeah. So why hasn't that happened with Trump? Well, maybe because this is needed. This is needed in someone else's perspective is what I'm saying, is maybe there's a reason for it, and that's what we need to kind of figure out. Okay, so what if this lockout doesn't end? What happens next? Well, martial law. And what happens if martial law happens? Government takes over, and then what happens after that, right? There is an inevitable end game, which is scary to think about. But I mean, while everyone's waiting and depending on their jobs coming back, I mean, not to scare anybody, but I mean, that's how I would think. Because if that's happening there, well, maybe it's going to happen here in Canada too. And that's something, we gotta learn from this too. But
yeah. What is it they
nobody's
say?
Prepared
Those,
for that.
What is it they say? Those who forget history are destined to repeat it.
Yeah. But what is the other one too? Is it's copying or whatever. Invitation is the biggest form of flattery too, right? So where, what's the mission? We will never know that, and the unfortunate part is everyone suffers, everyone's affected, and that's just humanism. It's just the way that people are. So it's unfortunate and it's sad, and there's a lot of bad things that happen all over the place. But I mean, as far as conspiracy goes, basically what I'm trying to spin around here is try to find a positive if possible, or try to understand the problem and try to figure out how to live through it, or how to make through it, or stop caring about things you can't control, right? You got to eat to survive. Well, that's tough, right? That's really tough, hard, and that is an unfortunate situation. And I hope it doesn't last any longer. But I mean, this is not a good one. This is not good.
No.
No. But I mean, is this part of disclosure? Is this part of? There's a whole bunch of. It's all connected to something. And I don't want to worry or waste any time on it. I'm just I'm watching closely, hoping it stops. At the same idea, while everyone's focused on it, I'm trying to focus on everything else that's being released, right? So this ATIP thing is very, very, very significant. The thing that Nick Pope did, and it's good in our channels that we caught up on it. But I mean, it didn't make news, didn't make our news as far as I know, because they're too busy talking about Trump. So maybe this is important to happen within the last 34 days. Everyone in the United States is suffering. And maybe they don't have time to be caught up with all this information. This could be part of the distraction while they unveil and release all these secrets. Because by the time this lockout or this government shutdown ends, all this information will be released, and then they'll have to go back and see what they missed and be like, what the fuck? How come I didn't vote on that, or blah blah blah, and this and that, right? Yeah. Now that's a conspiracy. I just made a conspiracy out of conspiracy, but I mean that's what I'm trying to think. There's got to be a reason for it, especially when the fact
that's actually. Oh, go on.
No, I was just when I talked about how better presidents were taken out for doing less, right? So.
Yeah, that's something that we've actually, I'm from the U.S. I've seen that in the time I was there. I was there for almost 30 years. So I've seen that more and more. Like a lot of people bring up, the last president that was attempted to be impeached or anything like that. Since impeachment's always being, it seems like Donald Trump's name in impeachment is always there. Excuse me. That they always bring up Clinton, and it was like, well, Clinton. Well, a lot of people forget that Clinton was impeached for perjury. He lied under oath when being questioned if he had an affair with the girl or not.
Mm-hmm.
There was a huge deal with the Contras going on at that time. They were being investigated the Clintons were being investigated about arm deals, drug running, things like that. And it all went away because Bill Clinton was getting impeached.
Right.
Now, everybody when all this stuff was going on, everyone knew there was one thing, and it's almost the exact same situation with Trump right now. They knew that he was far enough into his term that he would be out of office before he would be impeached. Nothing would happen. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm getting the same feeling here. It goes into sleight of hand. Like the magicians. Look over here, what I'm doing here. Don't pay any attention to the fact that I'm picking your wallet right now, that kind of thing. Right. And it's the same thing. That's the way the government, pretty much governments anywhere, work. They're going to do one thing to draw your attention while they do 20 things that your attention should be on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way governments work.
So us, remember, so we're the people affected by it. Even if I was, in, I got a jackass here too, but that's not going to change anything, right? It's unfortunate, especially with like the space race or all this inventions and stuff that everyone's trying to colonize Mars. Everyone's in a rush to get off this planet. And that's great, at academic level and scientific level and the rich level. But what about us underprivileged and in the lower class? We're going to be left behind. So, I've kind of given up on this, on the space race, interesting stuff. That stuff doesn't entertain me anymore. I don't care because, I'm not going to see it. Oh, great, we colonized Mars. Great. Awesome. See you later. Maybe you're going to go fuck that up. Let's fix this, right?
Yeah. That could actually be an upside to it. Maybe they can go off to Mars and we can fix the crap that's wrong down here.
Oh, I hope they go off.
Yeah, maybe that'd be a little bit of upside.
Then all of a sudden they're done. But that's the reality. There's a bunch of us who are being left behind. I know that me and my family are going to be left behind. So my focus is trying to figure out how to protect and how to preserve and how to stay in whatever is left behind. Because you know what, if that's a mistake, right, on their end, I'm not going to give up on this end, right?
Yeah.
What if they make a mistake? The egotistical behavior, the rich and powerful and almighty, blah blah blah. Let's hurry up and do this because we're desperate. Leave everyone behind, and all of a sudden they make a mistake. Boom. Then what?
Yeah.
Preserve the human race on another planet, but then you fuck, and they're all dead, and we're dead here too. Well, he's still screwed up, right? So there has to be a contingency plan as well. So I do believe that they're still testing it, right? And the other reassurance thing is that if they're going to make a mistake, I don't think they're going to do anything that's going to harm us, because it'll harm them too, unless, as we just learned in that A tip there from Nick Pope, I named a bunch of of those papers there. There's 38, and some of those include space travel or space propulsion, energy weapons. If they have technology that has yet to be released to the public, then maybe they got what they need to survive this, and it might be. I don't know. It's all messed up, but you know what? I don't want to think like that. I want to. My focus is, rise to the ashes. It's gonna burn. Something's gonna happen. And you know what? I don't encourage it, but I think this is the start of the new age per se. And in order to do something different, you have to destroy it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There's many ways. It's not a good thing. There's many other people in power in the past have tried it different ways and unsuccessful. But the method, the idea has always been the same. The way to go about it, there's never a good way to go about it. But there is a lot of shit in this world, and the only way to start over is to get, pretty much what's happening right now. So if he does, I don't know. It's just a bunch of, I don't know. I'm hoping that, I don't know what I'm hoping. It's not good. We're not in a good place right now.
I can agree with that. Now, Michael put up here, during the most recent Blue Origin launch, they mentioned that soon, when millions of people will be living and working in space. So that is a colonization of space is the ultimate thing, I guess you would say, the ultimate or the end goal with whatever they're planning and whatever they're doing with trying to privatize it and all that. He also put up on the topic of that paper and the invisibility talk. Here's another thing I saw recently, not sure how valid it is, and gave a Twitter link.
I think I can click that link. I see it. Let me see here. I'm learning. Lioness on Twitter with most obvious available uses for this new technology. Oh, it is a cloak. Now, that could be a camera trick too, with a green screen. Like the cloth could be green, Mike, we don't know. The technology would be interesting. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we joked about that when we were at base there. Or you didn't want to get up in the morning for PT. We wish we had our bunks were those invisibility cloaks so they wouldn't see us. But if the technology is possible, that's good. But what would you use this for? Here we are looking at this. This is fancy. Some people are happy and excited about that. There are a group of people who are going to look at this like myself and think green screen. This can be reproduced through a camera trick. We know that. But let's assume that it's not that. What reason do we need to have this? I don't need an invisibility cloak unless I want to do something suspicious. So why make an invention like that and reveal it to the public? So I'm thinking that video is almost hoax because there's no intelligent reason for it other than to show an advancement of technology. But at the same time, that would be a very important weapon to use against our enemies. So I reveal that,
Yeah.
right? So, there's you got to think about why people do what they do. And if it was up to me and I invented that, if I was in a situation and I was behind the invention of that technology, I would be using that to protect myself from, something. And if I had, orders separating me from other people in different opinions, then I obviously wouldn't share that in case, something like what's happening right now happens to us.
Yeah.
So
He also put up a link for one from Hyper Stealth, which he says is much more valid. The guy that already makes all Canadian camo for the military.
okay, so yeah, now this stuff I've seen, or heard of rather. I haven't seen. I'm looking at it right now. So back to what I'm talking about, like this guy at least explains that it's made for the military, so there's a reason for it, right? So showing off the technology is great too, in the sense that you're kind of warning your enemies that, hey, we have this, look out. But at the same time, you're giving them the idea. We don't know how they got the energy, whether they reverse engineered it or whatever, blah, 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 right? I don't understand why they need to share that shit. That shit should be secret.
Yeah. Well,
And
there's a lot of that. It goes back even into the U.S., especially with the military. If you really think about it, we made drastic advancements in technology. And I mean, we went from
having
just learning how to
advancement,
fly into making putting the man on the moon and this kind of stuff. We made drastic jumps in technology, and
and those are milestones and achievement as a civilization, right?
yeah,
Those are good scientific leaps, which is what we know. But I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm there. Why? I don't know. The world is changing fast.
yeah.
And that's the thing, right? So, other than the only safety measure I can really offer, in case there are people walking around with invisible cloaks, punch the air. Just be safe.
I just walk through them. It's like just
punch the air in all
start
four
marching.
directions. Make sure you're safe. Just whatever. But anyways, it's 10 o'clock. We started this late.
Yeah.
That's your half hour, so I'm gonna have to cut her quits. Thank you, Michael, for being the only listener tonight live. But hopefully we get everybody
Or
on
at
the
least the
replay.
one chatting. Hopefully we got a little better. But anyway,
Yeah.
if you, just for anyone who happens to listen or download this, we do this live now. This is a little bit of a test to see how things work with this, about doing a little after chat. Like I said, tonight was a little late and a little chaotic, just simply due to the fact of power outages and internet outages and all sorts of other outages. But you can still download it on, of course, all the things mentioned. You can hear it on TuneIn. You can hear it on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, all of that. And we will be back here next Thursday night, hopefully on time. Fingers crossed, no anything happening, to come back live again. And hopefully also we'll have a little bit more organization and a little more, because I didn't even get to hear anything he was talking about earlier. I missed the entire broadcast.
I got cut off too, so it's okay. It's all good, man. Next week will be
John
good.
says he's here too, so hi, John.
Hi, John. Who's John? Hi, John.
Yeah, it just says John.
And okay, so you were listening but not chatting, so that's good. Thank you for listening, John. And we'll see you. We'll talk to
you all again next Thursday.
All right, man. Have a good one, and heed the world.